This video briefly treats how social pressures can influence how we perceive facts. Such a subject would make for hours of videotape or shelves of library books. Yet, what we're trying to do here is simply focus on the term fact, since we're still dealing with vocabulary and our writing assignment, and see how social pressures can affect both of those. For how can we ignore the fact that social pressures can affect a perception of facts? In fact, it is a fact itself, as we shall see, and as you have been reading about. Take two cases just by way of demonstrating this. What happens when we want to check our understanding of facts with others? Say we're in class, say we're in a car, say we're at work, say we're in our family situation, and we ask, did you see that too? Did you hear that too? Checking our understanding. We want our understandings confirmed with those around us. It's no surprise that we should want that. It seems pretty common, in fact. Or to see another scenario here. What happens when you have a sense of what people commonly or traditionally do? Everyone has always done it that way, or sometimes people will say, well, it's just common sense. The surprising thing, of course, is that sometimes things haven't always been done the way that they have been done, and sometimes common sense isn't so common. People have discovered this. This is no great surprise to us, and yet those social pressures can still affect the facts that we perceive, and the things that we do, of course, because social pressure isn't just something for the junior high, though it gets talked about quite a bit in junior high as peer pressure. The adult form of that is something that can be deadly serious indeed, and there'll be lots of examples around us. We'll talk about some of them in class. Social pressures can affect perceptions of fact, and one key example we will have read about and that we'll talk about more in class is Solomon Asch, where a third of his participants went against their own judgment to make a judgment based on the group or groupthink. When we look at those criteria for judging facts, it becomes a little bit more problematic if I enlarge the two that are possible problematical ones. If we're judging facts by what is probable and what is plausible, sometimes those things can in fact be confirmed by what we think others think of them. If others think they're probable, sometimes we will. If others think they're plausible, sometimes we will. There are stark examples historically, and you can probably call to mind some of your own, where people think very assuredly that a fact is in all probability both probable and plausible, but when in fact it gets disputed and negated. Can you think of your own examples? I'll think of some in class and we'll contribute them as we have a discussion about that. But these two criteria in particular become a little bit more problematic. It's not that we discount them altogether, but we certainly see how they can be things that themselves are criteria for judging facts and not facts themselves. How we have to have a care with those criteria and why we have to have more than just those two criteria for judging facts. Alright, this seems like a good time to bring together a little bit of summary here. There are potential pitfalls when dealing with facts and when talking about them. First off, we have to stop confusing facts with non-facts. We have to try to draw lines around the things that are facts and call them what they are, and then call the things that aren't facts exactly what we think they are and give some names to those, as we will in the coming videos and in the coming weeks. Not taking into account all of the relevant facts can lead to a problem. That's certainly the case in a reading that we have for class about blind men and an elephant, which is a very famous parable for understanding how facts can be confused. Sometimes we're not looking broadly enough, or sometimes history teaches us that facts may not be all in yet. They may not be all considered. The facts may not all be in. There are often pressures and barriers to seeing facts, which can include our society, our environment, and even our powers of observation, which we saw in the very first assignment. All this is to say that it's not insurmountable, but that it's more problematic than we give it credit. You'll have people breezily talking about how something's factual and can't argue about facts, and yet sometimes the best arguments, indeed the best investigations, have been done about what makes something factual, and that's why we spend some time on it, especially in relation to this assignment. We're trying to be precise with our language, precise with our investigations, precise with articulating what it is that a thing is called, and with analyzing what it really is. Since our rhetorical mode is analysis and analyzing whether something's factual or not.